Craig Breslow is the Red Sox newest lead baseball executive. Jordan and I react. All right, Jordan, let's start it off real quick. What are your first thoughts to Craig Breslow being the new Red Sox chief decision maker?
First things first, finally, it felt like forever that the Red Sox were looking for their new Chaim Bloom chief baseball officer, president baseball officer, whatever you want to call it. That's first and foremost, finally. Second off, another guy from Yale with the initial CB that's never run a team before. You're going for the smartest guy in baseball. He was dubbed that as a player. He's been in front offices before. He got a lot of support from former teammates, namely David Ortiz and Dustin Pedroia. Also Kevin Youkilis, who was only his teammate for 5 minutes in 06. But a resounding support from alumni. And it really makes you feel pretty good about it from that standpoint. Obviously, with a guy who's never run a team before, you always have to temper your expectations for how good they will be at running point on something like this. But, on the outset, I feel pretty good about it. I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. It's about time to finally see maybe a sense of direction with this organization.
That was one of the things I wanted to bring up, actually, is the fact that this is my first reaction was kind of just meh. Only just because I would say from a standpoint of, as a fan who might not necessarily know all of the ins and outs of all the people the Red Sox were interviewing, such as myself, I was looking at the big names like Kim Ng, you got James Click in Toronto, and some of the other guys. And I think the big name obviously was Theo, right at the start when they fired Chaim Bloom. The fact that they didn't get any of these guys and instead ended up with somebody who doesn't necessarily know what he's doing does kind of concern me a bit.
Well, I think first and foremost, him working with, he was a very high-ranking decision maker in Chicago. So that alone shows that he does have some semblance of knowledge on player acquisition. The thing that really worries me, and I know you said to ease your worry, but I'm going to kind of confirm them a little bit as well. This is going to be remembered as how many people said no before you eventually got to Craig Breslow. Like you said, Kim Ng, James Click, both declined interviews. John Daniels declined an interview, or he interviewed and then pulled himself out. No, it wasn't Thad Levine, it was the other guy in Minnesota, Falvey. Brandon Gomes declined an interview. Sam Fuld declined an interview. That's 6 people right away that just declined an interview before you got to Craig Breslow. Now, if Breslow is great, we will not be talking about this in 4 or 5 years, but you went to a guy who has never been the point man on it. So it's going to take some time to really understand if it's really a matter of the best guy got the job, or you had to settle for somebody that you weren't necessarily comfortable with, because so many people said no.
I was going to say, it felt like, as opposed to you getting your guy, this was just the last man standing, as it happened to be in Craig Breslow. We talked about it even at the time, the PR, the optic ramifications that this firing had of Chaim Bloom way back in September. The executives coming in would look at it and say, I'm not going to be able to hire my manager. I'm not going to be able to really control how long my tenure is, because even if I win a World Series, I'll be gone in a couple of years. What's in it for me? What you said is very true. If they happen to, if he turns out to be great, and if he turns out to hire a robust staff that can figure it out, especially on the pitching side, something this organization has not developed a whole ton in recent memory, questions will not be coming. But for now, I think it's fair, personally, to have some qualms about the direction that the Red Sox have taken with this hire. Which leads me to expectations. What are your expectations in year one? I saw you tweeting about this earlier. Well, I'm putting in your tweet from earlier about how you don't want to see an immediate contender, or the expectation shouldn't be an immediate contender. So I want you to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, I just think the expectation for him is going to be this team has to contend day one. And I just don't think that's necessarily fair to him. This is his first time running point. Yes, he has been a high-ranking official in another organization before, but he's never been the head honcho. He's never had to be the primary negotiator in a free agent contract situation. He's never had to do that. There's going to be growing pains, as there are with rookies when they come up. There's going to be growing pains. Now, if they happen to be great next season, great, but I just think if he wins 85 or 86 games, or he puts together a roster that wins 85, 86 games, and they miss the playoffs, even if it's barely, and I know 85 and 86 games would be more than the Diamondbacks who are in the World Series, he's going to start hearing noise immediately. And that's just kind of what Fenway Sports Group has read over the last decade plus with these executives. It's you better win right away or you're not long for this market. This after Chaim Bloom's firing, that's 3 straight people that did not survive their first contract. Cherington was pushed out when Dombrowski came in. Dombrowski obviously got fired in 2019 after winning the most games in franchise history, and then Chaim Bloom got fired as well.
I think that the expectation for me is at least build upon the base that Bloom has given you. You have a great farm system, you have building blocks at the major league level, specifically Bayo, Casas, and others. I want to see them take that next step next year, as opposed to kind of what I think it felt like the Red Sox for the last couple of seasons have kind of been spinning their wheels, and it's not necessarily all on Chaim Bloom. There are a myriad of factors, as opposed to including underperformance, stuff like that. But 86 wins, if you told me as a Red Sox fan that you can get to 86 wins, I would tell you I need to see what it looks like, if that makes sense. If it really feels like they're building something down the stretch. Let's say they get off to a slow start in April, but if let's say they win in September, they're playing A, meaningful baseball, and B, they're winning games down the stretch, because that's what the last 2 Red Sox teams have not done. They've completely fallen apart, capitulated, and kind of quit down the stretch in the final month of the season. If they're building to that and we get to see some money being spent, then I'm going to be like, okay, hey, 86 wins, now we move next year into 2025, into 2026. Do you think that this will mark a return of the spending Sox? Not necessarily, I'm not talking like $300 million contracts, nothing like the Phillies roster right away. But do you think that we're going to see John Henry let Breslow spend a little bit more money than Bloom has spent over the last couple of years?
I feel like they have no choice but to do that. I mean, that's kind of been what happened. They had Cherington, who was a prospect hoarder. When he left, Dombrowski came in, immediately started spending. Gave out, I believe at the time, David Price was the highest paid pitcher, maybe even player in MLB history. Definitely not player, because A-Rod was still around. But David Price got the most lucrative contract of any pitcher in MLB history at the time. And then they fired him, curbed spending with Chaim Bloom. That was clearly a philosophy change. They didn't want Dombrowski to be the one to do it. And now I think they're ready to spend. And they just didn't think Chaim Bloom either deserved the opportunity or they just wanted to make him the fall guy. And then I think with Craig Breslow, I think they're going to spend. Now, I don't necessarily think that means they're going to go out and get Ohtani or trade for Juan Soto and then give him this massive extension. But will they be players for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who will probably get over $200 million? I think that's possible. There's some other big free agents on the market as well that could garner upwards of $150 to $200 million as well. I think they could be players for those guys. I just don't think it'll be Ohtani, Soto, both. I don't think it'll be either of them. I think it'll be guys like Yamamoto and then maybe like Jung-Hoo Lee. Like, they're going to play a lot on the international market and give those guys a lot of money as well.
Well, way to ruin the TikTok that I was going to make about me asking you if they were going to get Shohei. But hey, fair enough. I don't think they're going to get him either. But it could be, imagine if they got him though, Jordan. Imagine.
That would be cool. It'd be great. I mean, New Balance has their headquarters in Massachusetts. It would be perfect. Marketing would be through the roof, obviously. It's just, that's a lot of money to give out to somebody, and that's going to go down as one of obviously the most lucrative contract in MLB history, but that's a big justification, like a big number to justify. And if he abandons one half of what makes him Shohei Ohtani, whichever half it is, you're going to be paying a lot of money for somebody that doesn't impact both sides of the game.
Overall, I'm going to ask you to give a letter grade for this hire for the Red Sox. What do you got?
I'll give it a C+. I mean, ultimately, they settled on Craig Breslow. I don't think he was their first choice, second, third, fourth, maybe even fifth. I don't think that at all. I think they settled with him. It's a C+ and not just a flat C, because I do think Craig Breslow is a very smart man. I do think that there's cause for optimism. He was widely regarded as a great teammate. He got just resounding approval from alumni of the Red Sox. He's won in this market as a player. He knows how important winning is. So even if it's a little reckless at times with the spending aspect of it, I do think there's going to be a concerted effort to improve the Major League roster, which was something that, for all of Chaim Bloom's success at the lower levels of the organization, that was something that definitely lacked at the MLB level. And I do think Craig Breslow at least will get shoved into the free agent pile and say, hey, just go get somebody, throw a bunch of money at them, and we'll deal with the repercussions later.
You took the words right out of my mouth. C+. I'm going to focus on a different aspect than you, though. Pitching. I talked about it before. Pitching has been a real problem when it comes to development in the Red Sox system, and I hope that Breslow's role in Chicago was, I believe, GM or assistant to the GM, something like that, but he had a focus on pitching, and I really hope that he'll be able to develop that a little bit more in the Sox organization. the dream is obviously to become like Tampa Bay, where they just have arms and arms and arms and arms, and they can just keep churning guys out. I don't think the Red Sox will become that, but hey, something even like half of that would be awesome, because then you can get excited about 1 or 2 pitchers coming up to the big league club every couple of years and making an impact. Finally, just want to wrap up here. At the time that this is going to go out, the World Series will be starting later that day. We have the Diamondbacks against the Rangers in Texas, which means that Bruce Bochy or Madison Bumgarner will get a ring by the end of it, I believe. Who's your pick, and in how many games?
It's kind of hard to bet against the Diamondbacks at this point. They have run through a gauntlet to get here. And I'm going to pick the Diamondbacks to win it. I think they're going to shock the world, and I think they're going to do it in 6 games. And I'm going to throw a little bit extra in there. I think World Series MVP is going to go to a pitcher, and I think it is going to be Brandon Pfaadt.
I think the Rangers' offense has been incredible this postseason. And frankly, I think that the Rangers have the pitching outside of Max Scherzer, I think, to get it done if they can avoid using their bullpen too much. And yeah, I know that's a big if. But I think Arizona started to, not fatigue, but they started to show some cracks against Philly, where their offense went cold for a couple of games there, and it allowed Philly to kind of not only reset their staff, but also mow them down in the process. And I think if they do that against Texas, it's going to be a little bit harder for Arizona to climb out of that hole. I do think it's going to be a long series. I look forward to Big Papi giving the business to Derek Jeter and A-Rod the entire show. And now's a chance for me to put in your Jeter tweet, because that did absolute numbers. So congratulations on that. All right. Anything to plug before you want to head out?
Yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitter at JordanLeeAndrew55, that's pretty much the only thing I have that's pluggable. I've been writing for Beyond the Monster. It's a Substack about the Red Sox, so anything Red Sox related that you are interested in, check it out, because a lot of the guys there do some tremendous work. I shouldn't say a lot of them. All of them do tremendous work over there. Yeah, I would definitely check out that site and subscribe to it. It's free, and you get emails every time a story gets published.
Check out Jordan's work. You'll see his Twitter tag. I'm hoping at the beginning, if I remember to put it in. You won't see the last of him. This won't be the last you'll see of him. There'll be a lot of baseball stuff. We're going to try and get him in for some Patriot stuff, too. Celtics season just started, and Bruins are rolling. So, hey, things might be looking up in Boston sports. If the Patriots beat the Dolphins, who knows? Tyreek Hill's hurt. We'll see you again soon. Thank you guys for listening. Like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. My name is Jeremy. He's Jordan, and we'll catch you next time. See you later, everybody.